Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to our Diamond Sutra 101. For the last few weeks, we talked about the non-abiding on the level of cultivation, Dharma, adornment, the 5 aggregates, and also the non-abiding to the tools that we are using, not binding to the notion. So now we are continuing to discuss about the non-abiding. And I hope that all of you understand what we discussed for the previous class. And if you have difficulties to understand and you would like to have a review of the video again, just email and let me know. Okay, so let me share the screen. Okay, so in today's class, we are going to talk about, first is the honoring the true teachings. And in here, the Buddha said, anyone who explains this sutra, even 4 lines of verses from it, should be honored by people in this world, by those in heaven, and by Asuras as if he were a Buddha's statue or shrine. What then of anyone who receives, uphold, reads, and chants the teachings of this sutra with all of his strength? Shibudi, you should know that such a person already has become accomplished in the highest and rarest Dharma. Wherever this sutra can be found, there also is the Buddha, and it should be honored as if it were one of his disciples. In here, the Buddha says that if one person, anyone, are able to explain this sutra, even the 4 lines of verses, this person should be honored by the people in this world, by those in heaven and Asuras, as if he were Buddha's statue or shrine. What this is saying is that if this person is able to explain the teachings in this sutra, basically means that this person is already able to free from the non-abiding. This person will not be attached or abide to anything. And that's why this person is supposed to be a person that we can learn from and to be honored by the people in this world, by the heaven and the Asuras. Moreover, if anyone receives, uphold, reads, and chant these teachings, the same thing, this person has already accomplished in the level of non-abiding and non-attachment, which is so-called the highest and rarest Dharma. What is this highest and rarest Dharma? The understanding of impermanence, non-self, nirvana, and the most important is that understanding and accepting and practicing the cause and condition Dharma. This person will not be tied up by anything. No matter what challenge comes to this person's look at the challenge, still facing the challenge, but this person's mind is so firm that will not be disturbed by this challenge. But at the same time, this person still have to deal with this challenge. So Shibudi, you should know that such a person already has been accomplished in the highest and rarest Dharma. So the keyword here is highest and rarest Dharma. Wherever this sutra can be found, there also is the Buddha. If you can find this sutra or whatever this sutra that being recited out, being uphold, being practiced, then it means that there is the Buddha in this place. And this should be honored as if it were one of his disciples. So this Diamond Sutra, Paramita. This Diamond Sutra is a sutra that let us understand the supra-mundane world and the mundane world. With this ultimate wisdom to practice the non-abiding, non-attachment. And if you're a person able to understand the teachings in this Diamond Sutra, basically the Buddha has already been here with this person, because the person follows the teachings from the Buddha of non-abiding. So Shibudi said, "Woe, Honor One, what should this sutra be called? And how should we receive it and uphold it?" There should be a name for this sutra, right? So the name is also a tool, but we still need the tools to express to people. And also, how do we learn and receive it? And how do we uphold in it in order to practice in our daily life? So the Buddha says, this sutra is called the Diamond Paramita. And by this name, you should receive it and uphold it. Which means that when you say this Prajna Paramita, Diamond Prajna Paramita, or Vajrayana Prajna Paramita, then this is the sutra that you should receive and uphold it. And why is this? Shibudi. The Buddha has said that Prajna Paramita is not Prajna Paramita. And that is what is called Prajna Paramita. The Prajna Paramita is not the Prajna Paramita. That's why it's called the Prajna Paramita. It is just a terminology. It is just a tool. But we cannot let go of this tool yet if we do not understand the truth of this mundane world and also this supra-mundane world. We have not reached to the shore yet. So look at this. Prajna Paramita. The goal. What is the goal? What is the goal in practicing the Dharma or the teachings from the Buddha? What is the goal? To eliminate the suffering and also the cessation of this cycle of birth and death. And as in order to achieve this goal, we have to have the mentality of thinking outside the box. Thinking outside the box. So in here, Prajna Paramita is not Prajna Paramita. And that's why it is called Prajna Paramita. So we cannot deny the Prajna Paramita, but at the same time, we cannot abide to Prajna Paramita. If we did not abide to Prajna Paramita, then this is called the Prajna Paramita. Remember, Prajna Paramita means what? Wisdom. Wisdom. That end the suffering. So, as I mentioned, is that if we abide to Prajna Paramita, then this is not Prajna Paramita. And if we abide to not Prajna Paramita, this is also not Prajna Paramita. So what is Prajna Paramita? Prajna Paramita, not Prajna Paramita, and Prajna Paramita. No abiding to the first Prajna Paramita, no abiding to the not Prajna Paramita. That's why it's called a prajna paramita. You get what I mean? First is that the prajna paramita, we should not abide to it. That's why we said, oh, there's no prajna paramita. But if we abide to no prajna paramita, it's also an attachment. So if we don't abide to the paramita and not paramita, basically it's called the prajna paramita. Okay. Next, ultimate tranquility beyond notion. Again, we talk about the beyond notion. This mind creates a lot of illusion to us, and we accept this illusion. That's why it brings us suffering. But we cannot say that because of illusion, so I'm not going to live in this world. This is also not right. Again, so what the Buddha asked Shivuli, does the Tathagata speak the Dharma? Again, he asked this question again. But in here, we realize that in here, there's no such a term called standard Dharma. So the standard does not appear in here. So the Buddha says that, does the Buddha speak the Dharma? And Shivudi says that, oh, the Tathagata has not said anything. The Buddha has not said anything. So what did the Buddha say? What did the Buddha say? In our basic Buddhism class, we say that the Buddha has been teaching for 49 years or 47 years, doesn't matter, but he has been teaching going around India or the ancient India to propagate the Dharma. But in this Diamond Sutra, Sri Buddha says that the Buddha did not say anything. Did not say anything. Why? Why Sri Buddha says that the Buddha did not say anything? Why? Think about it. The Buddha says that, again, ask this question, is all the five dust throughout the 3,000-fold world system a lot of dust or not? Which means that in Buddhism, Buddhists believe that the world is not just this earth. Besides this earth, there are other places, other type of world. It can be in the space, another planet. It can also a place in this world. It's just like now. I and you are in here talking about the Diamond Sutra. Talking about the Diamond Sutra. However, your family members might be in the other room watching the TV. Don't you think that basically we are in two different worlds? One is the listening to the Dharma, and the other one is listening to the drama. So in here is that throughout all this 3,000-fold world system, the dust, the fine dust, a lot or not. And Shibudi says that it is a lot, Buddha. And Buddha says that Shibudi, the Tathagata says that all of that fine dust is not find us. And that is what is called find us. The Tathagata says that the world is not the world. And that is what is called the world. So I'm going to go back to the previous slide. Does the Tathagata speaks the Dharma? Why Shibudi says that he has not said anything? Because Dharma is not something that we can speak out. The Dharma is beyond a lot of things. And if we say that the Dharma is Dharma, then this is not Dharma. And if we understand that this is not Dharma, and this is Dharma, then that's why it's called the Dharma. In a way, is that the Buddha wants us to understand in not abiding to the Dharma, at the same time, not abiding to the non-Dharma. And that's why we are able to understand the ultimate teachings of cause and condition, because cause and condition change all the time. And because it keeps changing, that's why the Buddha has not said anything. It's not fixed. It depends on the condition in order to teach the Dharma. And that's what it does. It does, Shibudi says that a lot, and we can't see it. We can't see it, maybe we can use a microscope or something to look at it. But if we abide to the finders, that will bring us suffering. And if we don't, if we abide to the non-finders, there's also an issue, which means that you won't clean your room. So we have to practice the middle path in accepting the concept of finders and also accepting the non-finders, and that's why it is called finders. Not abiding to any sight or anything. Not abiding to any sight or anything. And here, Shibudi continued to say, World Honor One, if anyone should hear this sutra and believe it with a pure mind, then he will give rise to true reality. You should know that this person will attain the supreme rarest virtue. World Honor One, true reality is not reality. And that is what the Tathagata call true reality. What is true reality? What is true reality? Think about the three Dharma seal. Is that a true? If we attach to the true, we are being restricted. However, if we deny it, it's not reality. It's not reality. Then, this is what the Buddha called true reality. But at the same time, the true reality is not reality. True reality is not reality. And when we understand the true reality is not reality, and that's why it's called the true reality. Not attached to the true reality, because there's not a reality. There's no fixed reality. Everything changes all the time. So the true reality is impermanent and non-self. changing, cause and condition. Cause and condition. So is there anything that we should abide to? If we abide to any side and become extreme, both sides will bring us suffering. And we will never reach the other shore. We will never. However, if we understand the truth of this mundane world and also the truth of this supra-mundane world, and not being abide to both sides, that is called the mundane world and supra-mundane world. Okay, we continue. Buddha say, if 500 years from now, someone should hear this sutra, believe it, understand it, receive it, and uphold it. Uphold means practice it. Then that person will be a rare person indeed. And why is this? That person is without a notion of self, notion of others, notion of sentient beings, or notions of longevity. And why is this so? The notion of a self is not a notion. And the notion of others is not a notion. The notion of sentient beings is also not a notion. The notion of longevity is also not notion. So now we talk about this notion. It's not talking about no eyes, no ears, no mouth, no others. We're talking about this notion here. Here, what we are thinking. And Buddha says that, why is this? That which turn away from all notion is called all Buddhas. It's called all Buddhas. And I would like to elaborate this a little bit. When a person hears this sutra, believe, understand, receive, uphold, means practice, this person is very rare. Very rare. You know why? Because in this sutra is to refute, is to free from the non-abiding, from our attachments, from our normal way of thinking. The notion, the perspective, the concept that we have for a long, long time. And this long, long time, not just this life, including past lives. So if a person able to understand it, believe it, practice it, this person is a very rare person. The reason is because he already free from the notions of self, others, sentient beings, and longevity. But does not mean that this person does not have notion. Notion of self is not a notion. But the notion of self is also a notion. In the translation, it mentioned about turn away from all notions is called all Buddhas. In this translation, Li translate into English means turn away. But if we mention about turn away or Li Tai, it will become an extreme type of nihilism. Means that there's nothing, so I'm going to go away. I do not want to have any notion. I do not want to have anything. And this is too extreme. It's not what the Buddha taught us. What the Buddha says is that we should not abide to the notion of the thing that we abide to, whether it's self, others, sentient beings, or longevity. longevity. So it's not to run away, not to deny, not to hide from the notion. It's the non-abiding to this notion. Think outside the box. Don't restrict ourselves in just this thinking. It's just like a lot of people say is that if you love a person and the person does not love you, there's still a lot of people around you. Why do you want to stuck yourself into that person? But a lot of us, when we like something, we attach to some things, we can't see the things around us. We can't see it because we're too attached, abide, stick on it. And this is why the Buddha says that if we stick on the notion, that it will bring us suffering. But if we turn away, think outside the box, step back a little bit and look broader. If we are able to do this, basically we really transcend from the suffering. And that's why it's called all Buddhas. All Buddhas will not abide to a certain notion. Doesn't mean that the Buddha does not want this notion. It means that the Buddha has this notion, but not abide to it. So in our daily life, as I always mention, is that there's nothing wrong with the things around us, nothing wrong with ourselves, this self. But the thing is that if we to abide to it, and we have this notion to abide to it, then this will bring us suffering. And it's difficult for us to reach to the shore of non-suffering, the cessation of suffering, and also the ending of the birth and death, the circle of birth and death. So again, it's your choice to decide what life you want to have. Okay, so let's move on. And the Dharma, Buddha says that the Dharma has says that the supreme paramita is not the supreme paramita. It's not the supreme paramita, and that this is what is called the supreme paramita. Shibudi, the Dharma has says that the paramita of patience is not the paramita of patience. Again, not to abide to both sides, not to abide to the things. We see the things, we feel the things, but not to have this notion of abiding to it. And that's why this is the thing. Everything becomes very flexible. Our way of looking things become broad. We won't stuck ourselves in we call it a black hole, and unable to release out. And here, the Buddha says that long ago, when my body was being cut apart by King Kalinka, I had no notion of self, no notion of others, no notion of sentient beings, and no notions of longevity. And why was this? If at that distant time, as my body was being cut apart pieces by pieces in great pain, if I had a notion of self, a notion of others, a notion of sentient beings, or a notion of longevity, I would have become angry. And this anger will be with us life after life of life. The Buddha did not deny the pain that he experienced in that time. As he mentioned, is that during that time, as my body was being cut apart piece by piece, means very pain. And if at that time he has the notion of my body is being cut by somebody, definitely he would have become angry. And this notion of anger, or this notion of angry, will rise up and cause Buddha to have a unwholesome thoughts or action. And then this become a karma. A karma. So that's why the Buddha at that time, he chose to focus his mind and say that I want to focus my mind that there's no notion of self, others, sentient being, or longevity. And I want to cease my anger. And the Buddha continued to say, Bodhisattva should turn away from all notions and initiate the mind of Anattara Samyak Sambodhi. He should not give rise to a mind abide in form, and he should not give rise to a mind abiding in sound, smell, taste, touch, or Dharma. He should give rise to a mind that does not abide in anything. And then you might ask me, is that, Venerable, if the Bodhisattva does not have a mind does not have the notion in helping the sentient beings, then how will this Bodhisattva wants to help the sentient beings? Remember, the Bodhisattva, his or her practice, basically is to have the compassion in all sentient beings. This is the main drive for the Bodhisattva to keep rebirth and rebirth again, because their goal, their mission, their vow is to help all sentient beings. However, if the Bodhisattva has this abiding mind in the notion, in the form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or Dharma, abide to it and have this mind in abiding, then this Bodhisattva will basically in suffering as well, because the Bodhisattva attached to it. As I mentioned many times, we want to help people. Doesn't mean that that person wants our help. The condition is not right yet. But if we insist that there is a person, I see this person, I hear this person, I can feel this person, I want to help this person, have this notion of helping and insist on helping, and it doesn't come as what the Bodhisattva expected, this abiding notion will bring sufferings to the Bodhisattva. Because the Bodhisattva will feel sad in seeing people suffering if he has this notion of sentient beings. But without this notion of sentient beings, how can this Bodhisattva help the sentient beings? So in here, as I mentioned, is that turn away from all notion doesn't mean that I want to turn away, run away, hide from this notion. No. Turn away means not abiding in all this notion. So the last line says that it should give rise to a mind that does not abide in anything. This anything, this notion or thing is there. So nothing wrong with the notion. Nothing wrong with the thing. So the key thing is abiding, attachment, clinging. That brings suffering. It's just like a chain that ties us up. Okay, so here, the Buddha continued to say, if the mind abides in anything, this is a false abiding. A Bodhisattva should not give abiding in form. Abiding in form. Shibudi, a Bodhisattva should give in this way to benefit all sentient beings. The Tathagata says that all notions are not notion, and therefore he also says that all sentient beings are not sentient beings. And this is why the Bodhisattva should say that I guide the sentient beings to the nirvana, but no sentient beings being liberated or enter into nirvana. If the Bodhisattva has the mind of there is a sentient beings, I guide them to enter into nirvana, then this is an attachment to it. Again, it is a chain that ties this Bodhisattva up. So the mind abides is false abiding. Abiding is basically is also an illusion. It's something that come up from here, come up from our mind. But we think that this is true. We think that abiding attachment is true as well. And all notions are not notion. It changes all the time. It changes all the time. There's no fixed notion. It's us that fix it. Why do we fix it? Because of abiding. But this abiding is also an illusion. If we know that this is an illusion, if we feel the suffering and we understand that this is an illusion, means that it will change all the time, then why do we hold on to it? And that's why sentient beings are not sentient beings. And this is why it's called sentient beings. If you love someone and that person doesn't love you, you can think about this, is that this person is not just that this person in this world. There are many other people. So that's why I have many other people around me. Why do I want to stuck in one person and cause me to continue to suffer? Why? Nothing benefits me. Okay, next. The Tathagata is a speaker of what is true, what is real, what is so, what is not deceptive, and what is not altered. The Dharma that the Tathagata has attained is not real, and it is not unreal. Why did the Buddha say so? What the Buddha says is true. What is true? What is real? What is truth and what is real? You can get the answer in the Tridharma seal. And that's why it is not deceptive and not order. It cannot be order. You cannot change it. This is a truth. Impermanence is the truth. Non-self is the truth. Cause and condition is the truth. The Buddha is just only show us the truth of this world, and that's why it is not false. It's just telling us about the truth. However, the Dharma that the Buddha has attained, which is the understanding of the cause and condition, changing and changing due to different condition, is not real and is not unreal. That's why we always say that we won't have an enemy forever. We also won't have a friend forever. An enemy can become a friend. A friend can also become an enemy. And if we attach in real, it is not attainable. We cannot attain. If we attach to not unreal, then it's also unable to attain. So, real, unreal, truth, untruth, if we abide to either side or both sides, we won't be able to attain or awaken from this mundane world. All attachment or any attachment will become a limitation. And because of this limitation, our world becomes small. The thing we see and the thing we feel become restricted. And this is why we take it so seriously and we are unable to let go. We are unable to let go, and this brings us suffering. But if we are able to think outside the box, transcend our way of thinking, think outside the box, look into the truth around us. We work hard, but if we work too hard and abide to this too hard, definitely it will cause harm to our body. It will cause harm to our body. If we love ourselves too much, we have to love ourselves. But if we love ourselves too much, so abiding to this self, we will forever live in what? Insecurity, in fear. Because we're so afraid that people will harm us. We're so afraid that this body will get old. We're so afraid that it will decay and it will die. That's why the fear arises. But you can think outside the box and say that this is the reality. And that's why it's not a reality. It changes all the time. This body is just like a house. It's just like a house. If we get old and it's not functioning anymore, then move to another place to have a new house. But we human beings basically do not think in this way. We attach to the things that we think is real in this life. And that's why we suffer. We won't have peace in mind. And that's the reason why I always ask my students, when you practice meditation, what are you looking for? Many people say that I want to look for calmness and peace. You can't find calmness and peace from meditation. We are just using the meditation, this tool, to find the calmness and peace in yourself. It's already in here. But we've been restricted by our own self. So, in this class, of course, later on, some of the members, if you would like to ask questions, please ask. But in this class, we've discussed the refute of the notions on the abiding of Dharma, mind and Buddha Dharma. In this mundane world, we are trained to have the perception, thoughts, knowledge, all kinds of things that put in here. Not just in this life, but from many lives. There's nothing wrong with this perception, thoughts, knowledge, or notion. But when we too abide to it, we so stubbornly say that this is supposed to be this. And when people disagree with us, what would be our reaction? Angry, right? We feel angry. And then we'll start to have a argument, debate with the people that does not agree with you. And then the next thing is unpleasant relationship. Definitely you will bring suffering to you, yourself, and others. So all this suffering of anger, sadness, pain, depression, basically it's because we're too attached to the notions of the things around us in this mundane world. And as a practitioner, when they understand about the supra-mundane world, they are too abide to the concept, the notion of the supra-mundane world. It also brings suffering. So what is the ultimate practice? Or what is the practice we're supposed to practice? The sutra will tell us about it. So for today's class, we will end here. And next week, we will continue to discuss the Diamond Sutra 101, 104.